So our first storyteller is Miss Sherry Weaver. So is she? Yay!
Hello, I'm 53 years old and I have never been employed. I have never opened a door in a restaurant when I'm with a man. I have never paid for my half of the check, my half of the vacation, my half of the mortgage, my half of the bills. I had a great time. I have never allowed a man to see me dye my roots, pluck my eyebrows, shave my legs, or do a sit-up. Believe me, they really appreciate this. I have never asked a man what he's thinking. I have never said that we have to communicate more so that we can become best friends. And I have never asked a man to give up any time that he wants to spend with anyone else to be with me.
Are you single? What are you doing next year?
Yes, I am the perfect woman. I rise up every morning ready to love and adore the man I'm with, whomever he should be. And all he has to do in return is pay all the bills and have sex with me on a regular basis. This beautiful tapestry of my life started to become unraveled when I met Ellis in 1993. He saw me at a party and he was with a friend and he said, "Who's that woman across the way?" And his friend said, "Stay away from her, she's dangerous." But he didn't listen. He didn't listen, and he started wooing me, and it was really wonderful and fantastic wooing because he's a producer, and he produces events and does videos and everything. Everything in his life is an event. We walk down the street. We don't actually just walk down the street. We have an adventure, and dinner is an adventure. Everything in his life, he sees the smallest little detail and can create something fantastic out of it. You can imagine what sex was like. So, unfortunately, in every single relationship, about the third week mark comes the real truth. But we're usually so in love or so in lust that we don't hear it. And when it comes up later, we're totally shocked. About week 3, Ellis told me that he was a feminist. And I said, oh. How in the world did I end up with this guy? I would have preferred that he just told me he'd gotten out of jail or something. So I said, well, what does that mean? Can you explain it to me? And he went into long, detailed explanation of what a feminist is. And at the end, I said, does that mean all women should be employed? And he said, yes. And I said, oh, you have the wrong woman. I said, go to Atlantic Avenue, go over the bridge. You'll find thousands of women in Manhattan who are feminists, and they're all waiting for you. But he didn't listen to me. I didn't listen to him. We, as all young lovers will do, we had great hope about our relationship. So I moved in with him, with the children and the cats, and about the first week he brings out all the bills and puts them on the table and says, oh, this is the gas, this is the electric, this is the telephone bill. I said, oh, really? You can afford to pay those, can't you? And he said, oh, well, yes, of course. I said, oh, well, thank goodness. But he never got the humor in it at all. So we lived together for quite a while, and everything I did seemed to annoy him. I would take up nicely folded laundry, and he would say, "Don't you have anything to do with your life?" "Yes, I did the laundry. Isn't it fantastic? They're so neatly folded." He didn't get it. And he would catch me in the backyard cutting my grass with a scissor, and he would come out and he would say things like, "I'm buying a lawnmower. This is ridiculous." I said, "Oh, it's Zen gardening. It's Zen. It's very good for the soul." He would go off, create another event, come back, and I would be petting the cat, and he would say, "What are you doing?" I read an article. So to lower your blood pressure, pet your animals. I thought I was extremely productive, but he just didn't believe me. And we'd go off to all of these wonderful parties because he does create events and has this very large life, and all of his friends are Academy Award winners or have designed entire cities. And so I would go to these parties with him, and as they do in New York, the question would come up, "Well, what do you do?" "Well, I do nothing." And I live off the fat of the land. I would vary it so I wouldn't get bored. And most people were quite appalled, and particularly the women. And I would try to explain to them that they would tell me what great lives they had in their careers, and everything wonderful that they were doing, and they'd be beautiful and charming and fantastic. And I would say, "Are you happy?" "Oh, no, I'm not happy at all. I can't find love." And I would say, "Why not?" I said, "This room is filled with men. This room here is filled with men, and this is, women, pay attention." This room's filled with men. Every man's fantasy is to have a woman walk up to them, fall in love with them, and take them home. They never believed me. They never believed me. So I'm the only happy woman that I know. So anyway, back to Ellis. So one day, he wrote my resume. This is the very, very funny thing, since I've never actually done anything with my life. And I didn't look really awful in it, but I put it in the drawer and I tried to ignore it. And we went to a party one night, and I met the CEO of Colgate-Palmolive. Just for a second, I shook his hand. I passed by. I went home, and I got out my daughter's lined school paper, and I decided I was going to get a job. And I wrote, "Dear Reuben," in pencil. "I met you last night at the cocktail party, and I believe you can help me. I need a job. I have never been employed, and I have a high school education, but that shouldn't be any problem because I'm awfully cheery, and I'm never sick, I'm never depressed, and I don't care whether I'm the peon or the boss. I think you should hire me." And I signed it and sent it off to him. He called me. And within the week, I was sitting in his office, this magnificent office, windows on all sides, beautiful, fantastic office. And he kept asking me. I took my resume, and he looked at the resume, and he said, "Cub Scout leader." "Brownie leader." "Yes. You volunteer for a homeless shelter?" "Yes, I do." "And you raise money for your neighborhood?" "Yes." And I felt so proud of all my accomplishments. And he said, "Well, exactly what do you think you can do for Colgate?" "Oh, I can do anything. I am really, really, really smart." I said, "Acquisitions, takeovers, I'd be so good at that. And I think you should hire me." And he said, well, he kept looking at the resume. And he said, "Well, why did you come to me, of all people?" I said, "Well, look at this fantastically wonderful, amazing office. As if you can't hire me, I am the biggest loser ever." So he said, "Oh, all right." He said, he agreed. If I walked out, I had to be a loser. So he wanted to save me from that. And he said, "Come back next Thursday. I'll spend an hour with you. I will take you to all the department heads." And I swear this is a true story. "And I will introduce you to everybody, and we will find you a job." So I walked out of there, and I thought, wow, I've heard all those terrible stories. about trying to find a job and writing those resumes and never getting responses. This is so easy. And I walked out, and I was feeling so happy and proud, and I was walking down this very long hallway. And the hallway didn't have sun. And everyone who passed me was wearing black. I was in yellow. And as I walked along, I noticed all the names on the doors that I was passing, and they began to look like tombstones. And I began to feel, and the air got clammy. And by the time I got to the elevator, which seemed to take forever, I was writing in my head the letter that I was going to write to Reuben Mark the next day. Dear Reuben, I believe that Colgate is a much too small corporation for my expansive personality. Thank you so much for your time and energy. I did write that letter and send it off. But this gave Ellis great hope. I had my first job interview with a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. He was thrilled, and he started trying to find me more jobs. And then he started writing lists for things for me to do once he realized that I just was never going to go back there. And the lists arrived every day, and they got longer and longer. And I felt like I have such a busy day. I have to go out and take care of all my friends and family, and my community can't possibly survive for 5 minutes without my direct intervention. And I never got to the list. And every night he would ask me, well, what about this and that? And I would, I was busy today. I'll do it tomorrow. But I never got around to the list. And he seemed to get more and more stressed about this. And I began to get more and more stressed about this. And pretty soon I got really nervous every time I saw him, because I had to try to validate what I was doing during the day, and I couldn't really put my finger on it. I knew I was important, and I knew nobody could live without me, but I had no idea why. So one day, he comes in. He came in with bags of groceries, and he puts them down on the floor, and he says to me, I shoveled the snow off the walk. I shoveled the stoop. I ran 4 miles, and I went to the green market. What have you done? And of course, I look at the clock. It's 8:30 on a Saturday morning. I don't know what happened to me. One moment I was sitting there, I was relaxed, I was lowering my blood pressure, everything was fine, and the next minute I leapt up. The cat went running. I broke every single glass object on that floor. Chinese porcelains, crash! Portuguese vases that he had hand-carried back from Portugal. All the wine glasses, all the glass, everything was broken. And he fled upstairs. And so I sat back down, decided to finish my coffee. And a couple of minutes later, he came down with 2 suitcases. And I looked out the door, the windows. The door was broken. And I saw a cab waiting for him. And he turns to me and he says, I have 1,500 people waiting for me in Dallas, and I have to go. I'll be back on Wednesday. I said, fine. I'll see you on Wednesday, but I'm burning down the house while you're gone. At that point, he scraped away the glass with his foot, and he put his suitcases down, and he came to me, and he said, okay, you can break everything in the house. You can even burn it down, but please be here when I get back. So I said, I'll think about it. That was the beginning of our negotiations about our lives. And I believe in this struggle, in this war of the sexes, if you want to call it that, where Ellis, of course, is the politically correct feminist, and I am the sexist maniac, that we have both won. Because he no longer asks me what I've done during the day. He never gives me a list, never tries to find me a job. And I allow him to work as hard as he wants and bring home the bacon. Now, And every night we go to bed. And we have, I read in Newsweek, twice the amount of sex as the average American. I think this is pretty good. We have been together 7.5 years. Okay. Now, I found the perfect Valentine for Ellis. And since he's sitting in the audience, I'm going to, and Valentine's is tomorrow, I'm going to read it to you. It says, "Fool, don't you see now that I could have poisoned you 100 times? Had I been able to live without you."